Do you think that there's ever like a too far that modern art or abstract art can kind of go to? The example I'm thinking is there's two.
The banana?
The banana on the wall, and then also there's an art gallery, I don't know where it was, and some dude had a skateboard and just put it down and people taking pictures of it because they thought it was modern art.
I think I told you about that.
I think you probably did, yeah. Because we know
Or
what
the guy hitting butter.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? The guy
Yeah,
is
yeah,
just sitting on the floor, he's just smacking some butter.
Well, like one of my favorite ones I saw actually maybe today. There was this huge, you know, like when you make like vases and stuff, the clay stuff. It was huge. It was probably like 10 feet tall, and he was just like putting water on his face and just smacking it against the thing, and it was just spinning, and that was like the art.
Yeah.
So do you think there is a too far?
That's a good question. See, this is where we're getting into like
That's
dicey territory because there's a lot of art snobs that would try to rip me to pieces for, and like I said, I'm like art history was not my strong suit, so for me to have an opinion is rather trivial. But if it was too far, I don't know. It depends on what you mean by too far. People are willing to buy, purchase, and see wacky things. That's why the circus was something that was big, you know. So if
That's why memes are big now.
yeah, memes, you know, and anybody can make anything into a meme. Like, so there's somebody who would look at somebody smashing their face into a clay column and think that that was the most beautiful thing that they've ever seen and a representation of whatever that hits their heart, and they're going to shed a tear. And then there's going to be somebody else that's going to record that and be like, listen to the sound this makes and laugh about it. You know, so it's not, it just really depends on what you mean by too far. Because like the banana on the wall, or the guy who just, you know, can't carry his skateboard around his art museum, so he sets it down and people come over and start taking pictures of it. You know, it's when does the line become blurred? When does it become like art is a subjective opinion? Because I mean, it pretty much is a subjective opinion. I had this conversation with Jack Franceschi at some point about, he was talking about how propaganda isn't art because it's bad, like the message of it is bad or something similar to that. Don't quote me because I know Jack will be like, you misrepresented me. So I don't remember the full thing about what it was.
Soon he can state his opinion.
Yeah, I'll just need to come in for 5 seconds so we can rehab that conversation, and I'll just dip out. But yeah, I don't know. I think personally, I think art can be taken to a point where it's ridiculous, but maybe that is the point, you know, is to be ridiculous.
That could be art.
Anything can be justified basically through art because it doesn't have, that's what me and Jack were arguing about. It has to have some sort of absolute truth, and I thought that the absolute truth is that it has no absolute truth. It can be anything because anybody can like agree to it, but I guess an absolute doesn't pertain to one person's, you know, perspective on it. It just as a whole, like, this is what it is regardless of what people think about it, which is kind of like what Christ says and how we as people take it nowadays.
Yeah.
But so I don't know, because like who defines what art is at that point? Is there an absolute authority on what art is? And if we could discover what the absolute authority is on what art is, then you can start to compare things to that absolute and be like, well, it doesn't meet that, so this isn't considered art, therefore we're taking it too far. So I think it just depends. I don't think there is an authority on art. There's art judges, but that judge is going to think somebody's art is way better than somebody else's and vice versa. You know, so it's a hard question to answer. But there's plenty of art that I think probably a majority of people could look at and be like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we always look at things in images, right? And images either speak to you or they don't.
Yeah.
The two things that I usually come back to, I didn't study art, but I did study literature, which has, I think, a lot of similarities to art in a certain sense. I mean, it is technically an art.
It is, yes.
There were two types of like critical thought when it came to judging literature. The one was like the Victorian criticisms, which were basically you would talk about something as it was, and you would try to basically just plainly state this is what something is, right? No sort of allegory, no metaphors, no symbolism and stuff like that. It's just very Victorian. Just this is what this is, and then that kind of evolved into T.S. Eliot, who was a thinker in the 20th century, who basically said, no, what criticism should be is that, the artist has a responsibility to just basically put something out there. We need people to put stuff out there, to create stuff. And then it becomes the responsibility of the critiques, the people who view it, to make it into something better.
Right.
And that is, it seems to me that's kind of more the path that you go on in terms of like criticism. Not necessarily criticism, but maybe just like notation of what, when you see art, it's like, someone put this out here because they thought that it spoke to them in some sense. How do I make this, maybe in a sense, maybe you don't think of that way. I don't know. What would you say to that?
I mean, yeah, I'm always willing to, like the banana on the wall, right? So even if I were to view the banana on the wall, I could sit there and muddle through as much thought as I wanted, and I could find something that I could either relate to or understand about the purpose of the banana on the wall, what it may represent, what it doesn't represent, what it's calling out, what it's not calling out, whatever. So, like, yes, like you could come to some sort of conclusion about the importance of this, and, nowadays, it's like everybody's feelings and how they think must be accepted. So you put this art out and you feel this type of way. If I say that this is, crap, and then all of a sudden I get canceled for it. So like,
right.
I don't know.